Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scary-ish podcast.
Woo!
Where we talk about fun topics, fun, scary-ish type topics.
Indeed we do. I think I might have just blown out my voice on that woo. It actually really hurt.
Oh, it's your fault.
Yeah, so I'm excited to do this episode 61. What are you going to be covering, Robin?
Yep, I'm Robin Grace, and this is Adam Diaz, and I'm going to be covering Ed Gein today.
Who is Ed Gein? All I know about him
You'll find out.
All I know about him is someone posted a picture of a nipple belt, which is the grossest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, on the Facebook page. And it's just a bunch of nipples sewn together with a belt buckle in the middle. And so it's not, I don't know, not something I know about, not something I'm terribly excited to hear about, but I'm glad that you're covering it so I can be informed.
It's funny because I've known about him forever. Well, okay, not forever.
You're just a fangirl.
I'm not a fangirl. I am a fan of true crime, so I am well aware of this person.
Right on. I will be covering a cryptid known as the Kappa, which I'm actually really happy to cover. Is it Kappa? I wasn't sure. That sounded too much like an old-timey gangster. Like, you'll never arrest me, Kappa.
Wow.
So, I wasn't sure how to pronounce it, but good to know, and we'll get to that later. But we're going to start out the episodes like we normally do with homegrown horrors. So, Robin, what is a homegrown horror?
Homegrown horrors are the stories of paranormal / supernatural experiences that you guys have, whether it be yours or a family member's. You guys have been gracious enough to share it with us, and we get to share it with the rest of you, so it's kind of cool.
Indeed, and if you have a story that you're thinking about sending to us, please do. Email it to storytime@scarish.com. You can also go to scarish.com and mail it to us there. Just click on Contact Us, and you'll find our little form to fill out. You can go to all of our social media links there, or you can just go to them by typing it into the URL thing, if that still exists. I don't know if Google's killed that yet. I hear they're trying to do that.
No, you'd still think.
Well, not if Google has anything to say about it, it's not. But if you want to go ahead and join us, facebook.com/Scarish podcast, head on over there, click like, and you can message us directly on Facebook. You can also join our Scary-ish Spooky Friends group there. See a bunch of the fun memes, non-nipple belt memes, preferably. Although it was very informing and it did inspire tonight's topic, so good job whoever posted that. And you can also join us on Twitter @ScarishPod. Instagram is @ScarishPodcast. And our Discord, which is about to reach 200 members. Very excited about that. Best way to find it, go to Scarish.com, scroll down, and on the right-hand side, you'll see a little logo for Discord. Click on that, and you'll be joining us immediately. And you can even share your story there to get some instant feedback from the community.
Yeah.
So I guess we can just jump right into them. Do you want to go first, or should I?
Let's have you go first.
Okay. So my subject is creepy-ish stories. Also, I love y'all's podcast.
Oh, thanks.
It's very nice of you to put that in the subject and just get straight to it. And it starts out like this. Hi, Adam and Robin.
Hello.
Hello. I found y'all on Spotify and have binged a metric assload of episodes this past weekend. I've been listening.
Assloads. That's my favorite loads.
That's my favorite way to measure stuff, too, is the metric assload. I've been listening to the Storytime episodes and wanted to share one from my childhood. The first one happened when I was about 5 years old. My family used to live with my grandparents in a two-story house. I'm tired. It's like 11 o'clock at night when we're recording this one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be a little bit loopy.
It is Chinese New Year, so
there was a lot.
Happy Chinese New Year.
Indeed. Happy Chinese New Year. Year of the pig. So there was a lot to do.
It's like pig, boar,
I just saw Year of the Pig everywhere, so that's just what I said.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm an ox, but you can also call me, I don't know, a fat piece of crap. I don't know what oxes are. It's
That's self-deprecating.
Taurus. That's what it is. I'm a Taurus and an ox too, which is really weird. I think I've mentioned that before. I want to get back to this email. So they're in this two-story house. This was the same house that they had originally bought when they had first immigrated from the Philippines. In parentheses, this isn't so important, but a good thing to remember for the next story. Anyway, back to 5-year-old me. I'd woken up in the middle of the night and went downstairs to get a glass of water. Our kitchen had a huge bay window that opened up to the street.
Huge bay window. Keep all your bays there.
That's funny, I guess.
I'm just, anytime I hear bay, all I think of is BAE bay.
It wasn't like that for a long time. You refused to acknowledge that word even existed. It was often flooded with the light from the street lights at night, making it very bright regardless of the time of day. I saw a figure leaning against the counter, staring out the bay window at the street.
Creepy.
It wore a long bathrobe and the same pajamas that my grandfather used to wear. The sight wasn't unusual because my grandfather used to stay up late and would sometimes stand at the window as he did the dishes. I got my cup of water from the refrigerator, drank it, and said, "Hi, Lolo," and then in parentheses, tag along for Grandpa. So
Okay.
Good to know. The figure turned around slowly, and I saw that it was just a face with no features.
No.
Think those faceless bodies from the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie with Davy Jones.
I'm thinking like that Doctor Who episode.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, Magpie or whatever takes all the faces. And
super creepy.
Yeah. Hungry.
I hate that episode. Actually, it's a really good episode. It's just you said hungry for the next 2 years after we watched that episode. From behind me, I could hear my grandfather's deafening snoring from behind my grandparents' closed bedroom door, which was about 10 feet away. I noped the fuck out and ran back up the stairs to my mom's room, tripping on the stairs and bruising my knee along the way. I told my grandma about it the next morning, and she told me that my grandfather had been snoring next to her all night. I still had the bruise on my leg, so I knew that I hadn't been dreaming. I told my mom about it. She made me go to church that Sunday, sit in the front row, and get splash zoned by the priest going around with his bucket of holy water. Once I got to high school, about 10-ish years ago, I talked to some friends, and they told me that my house used to be known as the, quote, haunted house, and people used to be scared to walk or drive by it at night.
That's crazy.
That's really messed up.
To know that your house is the one that
your house before you moved
to.
in it was the scary house no one wanted to be in. Anyway, I'm totally cool if you want to share this on the pod. Good thing, because we already did. And I've got a ton more stories if you all are interested. Thank you so much again for what you do. It definitely makes my home yoga practice a lot more fun.
Nice.
Happy holidays to you both. Hugs, Kristen.
Oh, thank you so much, Kristen.
We appreciate that. That's a really good story, and it's
you know
super
your grandma's
creepy.
telling the truth, too, because she's probably laying there staring at the ceiling like, I hate this goddamn snoring bastard.
At some point, you get used to it and becomes like a thing of, I don't know, comfort, like knowing that they're snoring next to you. If you don't hear anything coming from them when they're laying next to you, they're probably dead.
Yeah, sometimes I have to like poke you to see if you're alive.
Because I'm not snoring?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. It probably means that I'm actually awake and I'm starting to fall back asleep and it hasn't kicked in yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that could be.
To know.
But right on. So I guess on to your homegrown horror.
All right, so this one is from Andrew, and it begins, Hey there, Adam and Robin.
Hello.
Hey. This is Andrew again, and I'm sure by the time you guys read this, Sam will finally be here with me, which is funny because you guys are getting married in 2 weeks.
Indeed.
Woo-hoo.
And we've actually met you guys since you wrote this too, which is super cool.
It's amazing the wonderful people you meet when you listen to this great podcast. Oh, you guys
Sam
are
and Andrew
you
met
guys
through the
are
podcast,
so sweet.
for those of you who don't know.
So this is my most recent story. A few years ago, I was in my old apartment. I had already noped the fuck out of there. I was home alone and doing dishes. My roommate at the time always told me of spooky stuff happening in our apartment, such as items moving to different places on their own, and items flying across the room or falling off shelves when there was no reason for the item to fall. I was skeptical because I've never witnessed any of it until now. I was alone in my apartment doing dishes when I heard a weird noise coming from the bedroom. I went into the room and the noise was coming from the closet. When I got into the room, I could tell that it sounded like growling. I would have just been like, no, I'm good.
I'd have been like, there's going to be a demon dog in here and it's going to tell me that there is no
Gotta call
Dana.
animal control because there's a raccoon in there or something.
That's funny.
I looked in my closet, but the closer I got to the source of the sound, it would stop. I headed back to the kitchen and the growling started again. This happened a few times. I knew I wasn't going to sleep that night, so I walked to a nearby casino and got drunk to help me sleep. When I woke up the next morning, there was a bruise the size of a handprint on my arm. I moved the hell out of the apartment after that. Thanks for the podcast. I love listening to it. It always makes my day better. Keep on creeping on, Andrew. That is scary.
That's super
I would
creepy.
have definitely moved out too.
Thank you for sending that, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It reminds me of the scene in Ghostbusters where she's sitting in the chair and all the dog hands start like erupting out and holding her down.
Oh, grabs her into it.
Yeah, except this one was more gentle and it only bruised you in the night and left you not possessed, which is, I guess, a good thing, but you never know. I mean, she did like become a giant dog creature, which seemed to be fun for her during that movie. But I'm glad it didn't happen to you. Right on. So that's it for Homegrown Horror for this episode. I think we're going to move right along into our topics for the episode. And I'm guessing because you had me go first with the email, I'm going to be going first with the topics too.
I never go last. So
you very rarely do.
Yeah.
So that's fine, though. I'm glad that you're feeling confident enough to go last. I don't even think it's a confidence thing. I think it's just we usually just do it in a different order. But it's good for me. I like it this way. So this week, it's funny, though, because I had a joke in here written about stuff I know you're going to talk about. I think it's a nipple belt joke.
Okay.
It still applies. I've already talked about the nipple belt. Actually, before I jump into it, I just want to say shout out to all of you folks who came out for January Patreon push. I know I said it a lot during the last month. And we got like 30 new patrons, which almost doubled the amount of patrons we had. We pushed past our goal. We're almost at 60 now. It was really amazing to see how many folks actually came out. And we're just like, you know what? I think I'm going to support this. And it means a whole lot to us.
Yeah.
And because we have that many patrons and because we are at that goal now, the amount of patrons that we have will allow us to buy airfare to get there, fingers crossed, as long as we can find a good deal. So thank you so much to everyone, and we appreciate it. And as soon as we know when we're going to be at Winchester Mansion, which should be very soon, we'll let everyone know so we can try and coordinate a meetup.
Yeah, I was thinking April. April would be good.
April? Right
yes.
on. I know you were saying you're spring break, but I'm not sure if that's going to work out. It's a little bit close.
Spring break is too expensive because everybody wants to go on a vacation. But
everyone wants to fly during spring break.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're going to figure it out. It's going to be super fun, and thank you one more time to everyone. So I am now going to get into my topic of the episode. And this week I really wanted to move away from like the super satanic stuff because like 2 straight weeks of doing exorcist shit has played hell on my sleeping habits and just really messed with my dreams when I finally was able to sleep. So the fact that Robin is a bed hog also probably doesn't help. She's like the bed hog of a generation.
I finally slept well last night.
She's the Michael Jordan of bed hogs.
What is that supposed to mean?
It means you could it's like how Jordan was so good at basketball. You are so good at taking up a full bed. So you're just a talent. It is. It's like it's a once in a generation talent. So if there was an Olympics for it, you'd have all the goals. Michael Phelps would be like, holy.
Now, if I had a gold, you would not be on that bed.
I feel like you don't push me off the bed because you care for me in some way, and you know that if I get knocked off the bed, I'm gonna wake you up. Like that's gonna happen. So you push me just to the edge of my sanity and to the edge of the bed. So good work.
Thanks.
Kudos. Anyways. I came into this week really wanting to do a cryptid, but I wanted to do something obscure and something that I hadn't heard of, but something that kind of rang a bell where I'm like, I really need to look into that. So given the recent topics and how heavy they were, I think I found the perfect creature. So dear listener, I present to you the Kappa, which still sounds like a 1920s gangster now that I say it that way. And first things first, when I found this creature,
with like umph though.
With umph, I don't have a lot of umph left in me. I'm pretty tired, but the Kappa.
Kappa?
No, it's just terrible. I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, fine, whatever.
So first things first, when I found this creature, I was not like, dear Lord, what a horrific visage. What devil in hell could spawn such a creation?
Japan.
I was like, holy balls, that's cute. And it really is. The stuff
cute.
that I saw is super cute.
It looks like a little froggy with a little bowl on its head.
So how do you know this already? I hate that you know this.
Everyone knows it.
No, not everyone. I obviously didn't know it. So I guess I'll just stop my topic for the show. So that's it, everyone.
Man,
Robin's going to go ahead and take over now. So what is a Kappa? Well, first you should know. You've totally ruined so much of my fucking topic already. You should know that it is a cryptid from Japanese folklore, as Robin has already told you. And shout out to Japan. I miss you. I want to come back and be inside you again.
Me too.
And by that I mean within your borders, not in an awkward way. But anyways,
I can make it awkward.
You always do. Let's get to what this creature is. And there are multiple descriptions, as will happen with basically any piece of folklore, but the creature seems to be described very similarly in most versions, including really old ones, because there are very old scrolls that are like 600 years old that have drawings of this thing. The skin color of this creature is either green, yellow, or blue if you're lucky and you get the shiny version.
What?
So,
is that a joke?
It can be blue, yes, but it was a Pokemon Go joke. So you're welcome. Hashtag take me back to Japan. The size of these things is about the height of a small child. So I'm picturing like a 5-year-old based off the descriptions that I read. And if you think something that size isn't scary, you don't know that many 5-year-olds because they can be monsters. So just saying. The skin feel is scaly and reptilian.
What about the mouth feel?
The mouth feel is really good. It's very tasty, in fact. It tastes like chicken. Other significant features are webbed hands and feet. They can walk on all fours or bipedal like us humans. And they also have a small depression in the top of their head that's called a dish. And the dish actually holds water within it when they're not submerged because these are amphibians. So the water is said to be
amphibian.
I hate you. That's so bad. That's an 11:30 at night pun. The water in this dish is said to be the life force behind the Kappa. And if they are out of the water and the liquid in their dish spills out, they will become immobilized and they will die if they are not helped and that dish isn't refilled. And their chests feature a lighter color, and it's a different kind of skin. It's not the scaly skin anymore. It's more light in color, like I mentioned, but it's harder in nature. It's like a carapace.
Like a turtle.
It's exactly like a turtle. You're skipping ahead, so.
Oh, sorry.
And last but not least, they have something on their back, which extends from like the nape of their neck all the way just past what you would say is their bum, and it is a hard shell. And that said, at this point, you're going to realize that these things do look basically like a younger version of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Oh, so it's a... I don't know.
It's not teenage.
No, not adolescent. What is it?
Child Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Sure.
It's a CMNT instead of a TMNT. I forgot to mention, too, they have little scraps of hair. It starts at the border of the dish, the depression on their head, and it comes down. It looks like a bowl cut, and it makes them look super, super cute. I'd also like to mention at this point that both of our dogs are in the studio yet again, and Yui, our corgi, will not stop running her head into my leg. I think she sees a shadow or something. But yeah, if you hear like jingling, it's her collar because she's going insane. So, like I mentioned, this is a child mutant Ninja Turtle. And it's so funny because like it has a nose like a snapping turtle as well, and it's not shocking then to hear that their primary place of residence are rivers, lakes, and ponds. So
stick to the rivers you're used to. Lakes and the rivers you're used to?
It's lakes and the rivers you're used to. So don't go chasing waterfalls. That's it for me.
Did you make that joke somewhere in there?
What? No.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. I might have. I can't even remember anymore. So supposedly they can be found all over Japan, but the place in which they are found most frequently is the Saga Prefecture. And as a side note, for our American listeners who don't know what a prefecture is, think of it like a state. What it really is basically like a giant county, to be more accurate. But some people I've met from this country don't even know what a county is. That's no joke. There are human beings that have traveled so little, they don't know what a county is or what county they live in because they've never left it their entire lives. I'm not going to name names and throw people under the bus on the podcast.
Sorry.
I usually give them fake names. I'm not going to do that right now because I can't think of a fake name.
Okay.
So
Bob Saget.
Yeah, it's Bob Saget. I used to work with Bob Saget, and I said counties. I was like, what county is this? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, how long have you lived here? They're like, my whole life. I was like, what other counties have you like been to? They're like, I've never left here. I'm like, man, I hate you. So I'm just kidding. I don't hate anyone. That's not true.
But oh my god.
Not them. I don't hate them. So you might be saying, what is the Saga Prefecture? To which the answer would be, it's like not one of the things that you would think of when you associate Japan with like big cities. You're not going to think of like Tokyo or Nagasaki or Hiroshima.
Is it somewhere north?
It's south. It's very south.
Oh, okay.
It's like super, super southwest. It's almost as far southwest as you can go. That said, it's famous for producing ceramics and porcelain, so it's not like a bunch of celebrities come from there.
I bet they draw a bunch of Kappa all over their stuff.
Yeah, they probably do. And there's a lot of stuff all over the country that draws them, and I'll get to some of those in a little bit. And one of its primary tourist attraction, holy shit, I hate my tongue right now.
You don't want to mark it?
No, I'm just going to let it stay in there.
Well, now you have to mark it now.
I don't have to mark it now. I'm an idiot. My tongue doesn't work. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm also tired, and this is going to have to be a really long edit. I'm just going to have a breakdown in the air right now, so I'm still not going to mark it. One of its
my goodness.
One of its primary tourist attractions is the Karatsu Castle, and thus ends my micro book report on the Saga Prefecture. I hope you enjoyed it. But that's where these things are from. They're all over, but they're really centered there. So if you play like, I don't know, Pokemon Go, that's the nest. That's where you can find these things.
All right.
So we know they're amphibians, and it shouldn't shock you to find out that they are excellent swimmers. And I bring this up because there is a Japanese idiom that mentions them by name. And I think it's funny because an idiom is a colloquial metaphor, which basically means it's a saying that applies to where you're from and people who understand things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I always think of stuff like you can think of the obvious ones, but as an American, when someone falls flat on their face, I can't remember what it used to be called, but now everyone says they ate shit. If you fall flat on your face, like, oh man, I ate shit so hard. But if you're like outside the States and someone else speaks English,
ate poop?
They're going to look at you like, you actually put feces in your mouth hard? I don't understand what that means. It means you fell flat on your face. For those of you who don't know, it's a weird thing. So there's one in Japan that includes the kappa. I'm not going to try and say this because it's right here if you want to read it for me, but don't read what it means.
Kappa no kawa nagare.
And that means a kappa drowning in a river. And you basically use that phrase to say, like, even experts make mistakes because they're excellent swimmers. So it's like, even a kappa can drown in the river. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like anyone who's good at something can still be bad at it. And I just think it's cool because it's like such a piece of culture from Japan that it's just put directly into something like an idiom.
Cool.
So what is it? Well, usually with cryptids, it's either a horrific mutant, like when we look at like the South Carolina bullshit man or whatever he's called. That's totally fake, by the way. That lizard man, I don't believe in it one bit.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's just total horseshit. But they're like, oh, it could be a mutant of like an alligator who walks upright. Or a relic of like an age gone by, like the Loch Ness Monster could be a dinosaur that's been around for a very long time that just hasn't died.
Yeah.
And we like always think of that stuff, but most of the things that we find out about have red glowing eyes, and I always make fun of it because it's like if you're a cryptid, it's going to give away that you're evil because your eyes glow red, and it's because they're usually considered to be demons. The kappa, however, is considered to be a sujin. I'm pretty sure I said that right. You can yell at me if not. And you might ask, what is that? It means it's a god of water, and it's regarded as a god of water. Now, that said, they're often also referred to as water imps. And when I think imp, I think of the little bastard who's accompanying a warlock in the World of Warcraft, who like giggles and does backflips and like shoots fireballs at stuff. And it's because it's a bit of an indication of the behavior of the Kappa, and it's not just that they're mischievous, they can sometimes be outright dicks. And
what do they do?
That said, they actually are also on the other side of that coin, which is a phrase I hate to use, but I can't think of anything else right now. They're very polite. It's like just ingrained into them. They're very polite. And I'm going to get to why all these things are.
It's because everyone in Japan's pretty polite.
I think so. So I think it's because of tradition. And it's like one thing begets another thing, and they honor that tradition, even though they're like water gods. And I think that's why people in Japan take it so seriously, because even if a god that's mischievous can still do that, you have no excuse not to do that. You know what I mean?
You don't think it's just like a nursery rhyme type thing that they teach kids, like to be nice?
Well, when it comes to the Kappa, the nursery rhyme I think included in this is like, don't swim by yourself.
Oh, okay.
And we'll get to that. You can imagine what's going to happen here. But
okay, it's going to be like Drifloon.
Yes.
Drifloon takes children away.
It's very similar to a Drifloon, except it looks nothing like it. And Drifloon's actually a ghost Pokemon.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that until someone pointed out. I think that was Charlie.
No. It was our friends at JJ Obsession.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right. Shout out to them. They're awesome. So what are the things the Kappa is into? Like, if they were going to like make a Match.com profile, like, what are the things that they would highlight? Well, the Kappa is a big fan of sumo wrestling. Which I think is awesome. Like, this water god is a fan of human combat where you just shove each other out of a ring. And, like, not just a fan. Like, I was a fan of wrestling when I was younger. And, like,
were you really?
Oh, yeah, huge. Like, 7th, 8th grade. Every shirt I wore was WCW, NWO, WWF.
No way.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm dead serious, man. I absolutely loved wrestling. But they're big fans of wrestling.
I don't know if I want to know you anymore.
I hate you. So I relate to that. And they actually enjoy, just like I did when I was younger, participating in that activity that they're a fan of. So they're a fan of sumo wrestling. So I think personally, this is where some of the talk of the aggression from the Kappa comes from. Like, they see a human, and they're like me in 7th grade, practicing Stone Cold Stunners on my friends. You just want to do it because it's fun to do. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm going to go play with that person. I know humans sumo wrestle. All the other things in the animal kingdom don't sumo wrestle. I'm going to go sumo wrestle that human.
See, I used to watch like WWE and stuff, but like I was never like, I want to go out and do it.
See, it's hard for me to call it WWE because it was WWF the entire time I watched it. And then the World Wildlife Foundation won their like 20-year-long case against them, and they had to change it to WWE. I was thinking about this like a day ago.
Really?
Like, man, that must have really been so upsetting when they lost that decision. They had to change the logo. But they just took the dash marks off of the F at the end, and they're just like, oh, whatever, that works.
Oh, and then what's Raw? Raw's WWE?
I mean, it's all WWE.
Oh, okay.
Raw is their Monday night program. I haven't watched in a long time. I know they have a bunch of different programs on different nights, and they like have different championships based off of it because they absorbed WCW. I wasn't watching when that happened.
What's WCW?
It was
Crush Wednesday.
What's his face? Ted Turner? I think that's the guy who owned TNT. He made his own World Wrestling Federation, except he called it the World World Championship Wrestling, and they had Hogan. Hogan was the NWO. That whole NWO thing, that was WCW, and that's what kept it going for a really long time.
Okay, cool.
And shout out to the Luchadors. They also had the Mexican wrestlers that they brought to the States, which were one of the best things to watch.
Yeah.
Because it's like a dance. It's like watching a really choreographed dance. I'm going to get back to this
Well, you know
thing.
what's funny is that Andrew's a wrestler.
I know. I was thinking he's
like,
going to appreciate my knowledge of this. I know he will. At least one person out there is not going to turn this fucking podcast off right now. Like, oh my God, why are they talking so much about wrestling? So the Kappa is a fan of sumo wrestling, and I'm saying that they're just trying to play with people, and people take it the wrong way. So it's going to be on there. First thing on the Match.com profile, fan of sumo wrestling. So what else would be on this thing's profile? Well, favorite food. You're going to want to put that on there. It is cucumbers. And again, same. I love cucumbers so much.
Are you secretly a Kappa?
I think I might be. So I'm not a Kappa.
Oh my gosh.
I can't believe that happened organically. And I still kind of hate myself. So
we're so tired.
I really do. I know, right? I really do feel a kinship with these creatures because I absolutely do love cucumbers. I'll swallow them whole. So
no, you won't.
Now that we're picturing this super cool younger version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with a healthier diet, let's talk about what they are kind of known for. And like I mentioned earlier, they are a bit of pranksters. So you're probably saying, what kind of pranks? Well, it varies. probably depending on the day and on the particular Kappa you're dealing with. Because, I mean, like, all humans don't sumo wrestle.
I
They
know,
don't
whenever
know
I
that.
come across a Kappa, I'm like, you gonna give me a ticket or
I
what?
hate you so much. You're just never going to let that joke die. So some things commonly reported as behavior would be things like, and this is true, I saw this everywhere I looked, farting really loud. And as a side note, that is hilarious. If you meet a water god that comes out of the lake or the pond or the river you're nearby, and it's this small turtle-like creature that just looks like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and you're like trying to communicate with it, it's just like, it's like,
You know what's funny?
and then it runs away.
There's like a couple of different things that seem really immature in Japanese culture, but that's
I think
just like
fart
a part
jokes
of them.
are
Well,
hilarious.
Like, you know, in Naruto when they do that finger thing where they poke each other in the butt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a huge thing too.
That's just weird stuff right there.
Yeah.
I was watching Dragon Ball Super, finally caught up with it, and Master Roshi has to train away his pervertedness.
Yeah.
And, like, he has Puar. I know this is just such a huge tangent. He has a character transform into a beautiful woman, and he basically, the entire series, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super, is a huge pervert who tries to attack any beautiful woman and gets beat up by a beautiful woman. And I'm just like watching him like, wow, this shit does not fly right now. Like, that is not cool. And then eventually he trains it out of himself. So I'm like, I'm glad they went in that direction because it was never very funny to begin with.
Yeah.
That said, what other hijinks do these water gods get up to? Well, they're a fan of looking up the kimonos of women.
Wow.
Because they're perverts.
Okay.
And I would say
They're all little Master Roshis.
I would say in the Kappa's defense, I would like to point out that not all Kappas are probably known for this. It's probably just the creepy, pervy ones. And every time because people can't tell the difference between the Kappas.
ones that put themselves out there.
Yeah, and they're just like, I'm going to go on shore and try and look up these kimonos. And then all the Kappas get a bad rap for it. And that's just a dick move. So we've talked about that. What else would they put on their profile? They probably put their dislikes. Dislikes for the Kappa? Horses.
Zucchinis.
Cows. No, there's nothing in there about zucchinis. They're probably very disappointed when they realize it's not a cucumber, just like me, though. But they probably won't too much beyond their dislikes of horses and cows. And you don't want to go too far because their habits include drowning those creatures.
Oh, no.
And why wouldn't you? Like, you got to get that delicious horse meat somehow. I purposely didn't say cow meat.
Why?
I don't know. I just thought horse meat was funnier.
They got that Wagyu over there.
That's true. But seriously,
Straight up Kobe.
the design of the Kappa on all those things we were talking about and all the artwork that gets or gets put out there in Japan, it usually has a depiction at some point of them drowning a horse or luring a horse. Or there's a horse in a Kappa.
Are you going to post these on Instagram?
If I can find one, yeah.
Okay.
But I have like 3 hours until this episode releases, so I'm hard pressed to do it. I found an ancient scroll picture of a Kappa, and I found a recent artist depiction of what like a Kappa looks like, which looks just like how I pictured it after I read it.
All right.
So those two things are definitely going to go up. So that says other dislikes. I said other says. Other shit. I don't even know where I am right now. That said, other dislikes. Iron, which isn't shocking. I think a lot of supernatural creatures dislike iron. Sesame, not salt, which I thought was weird. And ginger. Sesame
it's probably
and
more
ginger.
common stuff found there.
That would make sense. And apparently garlic is all good, so it's not a total deal breaker. Like if this is on Match.com and you're scrolling through dislikes, you might be like, okay, I can cut those things out, but I can't cut out garlic because it's just too damn good.
Garlic is
Which is why I could never be with a vampire. It'd be too hard.
Aww.
So, you know how when you first meet someone, they tell you all these things that there is to know about them, but they're really leaving out like the bad habits that may require some more context or trust before revealing those things? The Kappa's no different. They're just like you and me.
All right.
An example. The Kappa puts its Match.com profile that it favorite food is cucumbers, right? We talked about that.
Okay. I feel like that it puts like a little eggplant emoji to
Wink, wink. But that is true about the cucumbers. But it's actually tied. It has two favorite foods. The other favorite food, human children.
No, it's not.
You're not going to put that on your Match.com profile. Side note, yes, it is.
That's definitely a deal breaker.
Which, I mean, that's why you don't put it on there. Which, to be fair, I cannot say is gross because I've never tried it. But again, it's a dick move to eat human children. And that's not the end of these things that you don't want to reveal either. The Kappa has some other bad habits. And I'm imagining the scenario of a blind date. And in this particular case, I'm picturing myself as this Kappa, like trying to defend certain things. And the blind date is obviously female for me because I'm picturing myself and I'm a heterosexual male. But don't be offended by that. Picture whatever you would have sitting across the table from you.
All right.
And they're probably saying things like, I feel like I've heard of you before. Like, were you in the news or something? And I'd be like, yeah, but like, you know, the news, it was out of context.
Fake news.
And I would, of course, be referring to the quote-unquote drownings that I had become associated with. Because, seriously, Kappas are known to grab folks, children especially, who are swimming alone in dangerous spots and drown them. So, as a Kappa, I'd point out that it was probably the Riptide or the Undertow, not the sumo match that I had with them underwater that, incidentally, I won that no one talks about. They kind of just gave up after a couple of minutes, and that's not my fault. Just saying.
Wow.
And at this point,
she probably... This little make-believe date is going horribly.
It went really far, too. So at this point, she probably asked stuff like, so do you have any hobbies, or do you like to collect anything? And by the way, this is obviously a trap question. Just say like, oh, knickknacks here and there. Because like everyone collects something. I hate you so much. I'm not saying give a dog a bone.
Oh, you just did.
So you wait till like the 10th date to really show her your Shurikodoma collection. And I think I said that correctly.
Are those dolls?
No, they're not. And you're saying, what's that? And I wrote that in my script. Well, that's the same thing she would ask on that 10th date when I showed her the collection. And
I don't think you would have gotten past the first date, bud.
I would. I'm good. And now that you know each other a bit, you can explain. A Shurikodoma is an organ which humans believe to be a myth, which resides in the human body.
Oh, okay.
Why is it so special? It contains the human soul. And yes, I collect them. They're very interesting. And now...
So this is like Crowley, and he's just collecting souls?
I don't know. This is a bit different. This is the part where you'd probably still want to leave out. You just end it there. And there's only one way to collect that said organ, and you probably don't want to go too in-depth with your explanation, but most of the attacks and drownings that are associated with Kappas are probably associated with this particular technique. So if you want to get a hold of this Shurikodoma, it must be removed from a live human, which can cause quite a struggle because the best point of access to reach the Shurikodoma is known as the anus.
Why?
This is true. I looked this up in multiple places. You heard that right. The cute, smaller version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle have a serious affinity for pulling your soul out of your ass. And the technique isn't just like reach up there and take it. Like the Shurikodoma is a tricky little organ, so to be safe, the Kappa will remove the entire intestine from one's anus to ensure they can find it. So basically, they give you the worst pink sock you can imagine. Side note, if you don't know what a pink sock is, it's exactly what you think it is, and for the love of God, do not Google it.
That sounds so gross.
It is.
I've never heard of it before, and I don't... you'll have to explain it to me after the show.
I've heard of it way, way too many times.
Okay, you'll have to show it to me later.
So,
don't show it to me. Explain it to me later. Okay.
So I'm going to stop right here with the dating advice. What else is there to know when it comes to these creatures? What do you need to know about the Kappa? Now that we're talking about removing the soul out of a butt, I think we're all pretty wary about meeting one. So if you need to go into the water that Kappa is in, for whatever reason, and you don't want to underwater sumo wrestle or have your soul pulled out of your butt, there's a simple way to avoid this. You just throw a cucumber into the water.
Shut up.
If you throw a cucumber into the water, and this is going to come back later, if you throw a cucumber into the water, they're basically like, you're all good. We're good.
It's like,
I'm not going to assault you. Thank you so much. I appreciate the cucumber.
Okay.
That's it. Like, that's what they say. It's like, if you don't want to be attacked, give them a cucumber toss in the water. And it seems reasonable enough, right? It gets better. Like, say the Kappa comes out of the water and sees you and is like, fight me, and draws a circle because it's ready to sumo. You should kind of take them up on the offer because they sumo wrestle and they'll probably beat you because they're very strong. But if you win...
Are you doing it on top of the water? So you have like all your chakra and you send it to your feet and you're just standing on top of the water?
Absolutely not.
That's
this is
so cool.
We're talking about a water god and you're talking about Naruto. Come on, stay grounded in reality here, Robin. So if you happen to defeat the Kappa, which I should mention for your safety is going to be pretty unlikely from everything I've read, it surrenders to you. And after that, it'll help you with a bunch of different stuff. It'll help you with your farming. They've been known to help irrigate crops.
Wow.
Being in Japan, we've seen a lot of the rice paddies and the other things.
Yes, that is very cool.
For those American farmers, anyone who listens to this show that's ever seen an American cornfield, I know we have a lot of people who listen in the Midwest. Imagine a cornfield with the rows, but it's dug down a little bit deeper, and it needs to stay permanently under a very thin layer of water for the crop to grow. And it looks very similar to what I grew up around, except that all the cells, basically, are just... like filled with a little bit of water. And if you say cells at work, I swear to God, I'm walking out of this room.
Oh, no. I was just going to say something about like perfect cell.
Oh, well, okay. That wasn't bad. They're all very, very organized. But if you want help with this, if you just sumo wrestle a Kappa and win, they will help you with your farming. Another thing the Kappa will do if you defeat it, it will share its medical knowledge with you. Do you think that's BS? Well, I got to say, that an individual a long time ago... Okay, I was waiting for you to say in a galaxy far, far away. I had a pause in my notes here. I'm glad you didn't say it. Anyways, a long time ago, someone defeated a Kappa in single combat.
Okay.
And they asked for some medical knowledge. What did they teach them? When treating a bone that has been broken, you must first align this bone as close to where it needs to be before finding a way to immobilize it for healing. I mean, that's the thing. It's a technique known as bone setting.
Yeah.
And the legend is we were taught that by the Kappa. By someone who had beaten a Kappa.
That's ridiculous.
And was taught that. Which I think is hilarious. So for any of our listeners out there who have broken a bone, you have the Kappa to thank for it healing properly. And for those of you listening that will suffer a break in the future, I really hope you think of this as you're getting your cast. And as a side note, for this to be true, this would have had to have taken place a long time ago.
Just don't tell your doctor, though. It's like, you learned that from the Kappa.
Right? Did you learn that from the water god? You're going to the psych ward if you say that. So anyways, what I was saying is this would have had to have been a long time ago to date it, because the earliest known medical text is called the Edwin Smith Papyrus, and it's from 1552 BC. This text is over 3,500 years old. And it's talking about things in the text that has been around for a while that someone finally decided to write down. The ancient Egyptians had a treatment for bone-related injuries that would align the bone after a break. They would immobilize it with a wooden splint and wrap it in bandages. They were even known to use something very similar to plaster to make a cast.
Wow.
Casts have been around for 3,500 years. So if the Kappa taught us how to do that, they taught someone in Japan who at some point traveled to Egypt.
Well, there was a lot of trade routes. So.
I'm saying this could be. And they must have found this out from them. But I think it's really cool because this has been around for so long. If you ever feel disconnected in history where you're like, I don't relate to any of these people, just imagine an ancient Egyptian from 3,500 years ago running around with a cast on. Because it looks very similar to what we have now, which is basically like plaster or paper mache. And I bet all of their friends would sign the casts, and one of the ancestors, that's probably mine, drew a dick on it. Hashtag don't let me sign your cast.
Oh, my goodness.
There is a story about the Kappa helping a dude farm, and it's a weird story, though. They don't actually battle. The Kappa comes out of the water. He's like, you want to marry my daughter? Like, they don't even fight. And the Kappa's like, sure. And the daughter, like, challenges him to, like, irrigate a bunch of crops in a certain amount of time, and he fails. And he's like, I guess I won't marry you then. And the farmer's like, sweet, my farm got irrigated anyways, and I didn't have to give away my daughter.
That's hilarious.
So, and I hope the daughter dick kicked the dad right after that. Like, you're an asshole, dad, because that's just a horrible thing to do, to have a nice, like, crop one year. He didn't even ask for it for multiple years from anything I could find. So, let's say one of the last things here I'm going to cover is the off chance that you have a run-in with your not-so run-of-the-mill Kappa. Let's say he's not into sumo wrestling. He comes out of the water, and he wants nothing more than to mess you up. He just wants to wreck your shop.
Sounds angry.
This is a jerk. And maybe he's coming out of the water to snatch one of the youngsters. So maybe we should teach this to the kids, too. So what do? Well, remember how I said they're polite? And even the assholes among them stick true to this.
Oh, if you bow to them, they have to bow to you, and then the water comes out of their heads and they're immobilized.
I'm very happy that you waited till now to ruin that. But yes, this is true. If you bow to a Kappa, they are compelled by the gesture and will return it. And they will bow back to you. And that water in their dish falls right out. And if all of it comes out, they will be immobilized. If not all of it comes out and they realize you've tricked them, they retreat immediately. But if all of it comes out, they will be immobilized. And it is up to the kindness of strangers around them to get them upright and refill their dish.
And hopefully they won't be a dick afterwards.
Or toss them back into the water. Well, here's the thing. It's said in all the legend and lore that I found that if you refill the dish of a Kappa who's like going to die, that they will serve you for all eternity.
What?
Which is a very long time. So what else can you do to defend yourself against a rogue Kappa if they're too close and you can't bow because you're just going to headbutt them and it's going to make things worse? Well,
bow and arrow.
Kappas are supposedly afraid of a few other things. Bow and arrow probably would work. One of those things, and I think this is so funny, loud noises, which just makes me laugh because if they're coming out of the water and they're going to attack someone and you scream, like it could be a child screaming, it could be anyone screaming, you could be like, hey, get out of here. You could just scream like the most high-pitched, frightened scream you can think of. The cop is basically going to be like, oh my God, I didn't know it would be so loud. And it's just going to run away and go back in the water. And then another thing that baffles me about the Kappa, and this is like the most baffling, is that the Kappas are afraid of fire. Like, dude, study your Pokemon. You are clearly a water type. How are you afraid of fire? You are super effective.
Wow.
Side note, Lotad, Lombre, what is it, Ludicolo? The third evolution of Lotad and Golduck are all Pokemon based on the Kappa.
I believe it.
So, and I mean, they kind of look like it. Like, especially Lotad, it's got that thing on the top of its head that collects water.
Yeah.
So, there are some villages in Japan that still hold festivals and celebrations that are accompanied specifically by fireworks to drive off these adorable anti-heroes in a half shell. Oh. So, it's still a widely held belief.
How? I cannot even believe it.
Turtle power.
Were you so happy when you were typing that out?
I was so pleased.
Oh, my goodness.
And if you're sitting there thinking, I think I've heard of these before, you probably have. Like, do you like sushi? Have you ever heard of the Kappa Maki roll?
That's a cucumber roll.
It's literally named after them because it consists of the seaweed wrap, the rice, and you guessed it, human children.
Oh, you're so stupid.
I'm kidding. It's just the cucumber. But yeah, it's just those 3 ingredients. Because it's just cucumber, they named it the Kappa Maki. And it was one of the creatures in the Traveling Circus in the new Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald.
Uh-huh.
You see it during that movie. And as a side note, I've seen the picture of it because I forgot that it was even in the movie. It does not look like the traditional depiction.
Okay.
It does not look like a CMNT. So I'm not okay with it. It's just, I really like the kitty cat line. It looks like Groot. It looks a lot like Groot with like a dish on its head. And it's really more like a bowl. So that said, it's also in the game Story of Seasons, which I'm pretty sure you and Charlie played a ton of. It was like the guys who made Harvest Moon came out with Story of Seasons. It's a lie.
I've never played it.
I'm pretty sure someone we know played it then, but you can find Kappa by throwing cucumbers in the water.
Oh, cute.
So like I said, something you can do to...
Cucumbers.
I hate you so much. Something you can do to buy yourself passage is something that you can do in a video game, and it's just that thing, that belief that comes through again. So, am I 100% convinced the Kappa is real? Well, no. So, there is such a thing as a giant Japanese salamander that some people believe are the creatures that were mistaken for the Kappa. And they can grow up to 8 feet long.
Wow.
That's a long salamander. Like, that's insane. People also speculate that it could be an unknown type of turtle, which makes sense because it's supposed to so closely resemble a turtle. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, that makes sense too because turtles also love cucumbers. And I put side note, they
like strawberries.
They really do love cucumbers. They love cucumbers. They love carrots. I think they love celery. Those are things that like you can feed like any form of turtle.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure they love strawberries too. Who doesn't love strawberries? So... But I'm going to go with my gut on this one. Like, any turtle, salamander, or green/yellow/blue child I see going forward, since they all match the description, I'm going to bow to, and then I'm going to give them a cucumber. And probably...
You just going to have cucumbers in your pockets?
Yeah. And then I'm probably going to throw a handful of rice in their face, just to be safe, because, like, I cannot stress this enough, people. You cannot be too safe in avoiding that slit-mouthed woman, because she just haunts my dreams.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, so no matter what, just handful of rice to the face. But if you happen to save the life of a Kappa, you basically have yourself a turtle form of Chewbacca. It's like someone who's going to be devoted to you for life. And I'm pretty damn sure that if I have that happen, I'm going to name it Squirtle. Like, we're going to figure this out.
All right.
And once we work out some basic communication, when I meet people, he's going to sumo wrestle you. I'm going to give him permission, like, go for it. And he's going to tackle you, and I'm going to yell, Squirtle, use tackle. And it will be super effective.
Okay.
But that is everything I have for the cryptid known as the Kappa.
Awesome. Thank you.
It
was very cute.
Thank you for not spoiling literally all of it. You only spoiled some of it. So.
I thought it was very cute. I think it's one of the cuter, legendary creatures.
I agree. And when you look at pictures of it, and I'll post the pictures on the Instagram as well, I think you'll just see, like, I can understand how...
It's going to be a weird post because it's going to be like super cute pictures of this turtle creature followed by this dude.
Cute turtle god, nipple belt. Our apologies to our Instagram followers, but hey, man, that's what you get when you roll with Scary-ish.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn over the floor to you.
Some episodes... we do like, oh, you're doing this, I'm gonna do this, and it's gonna like work together.
Yeah, not this
week.
These are just diametrically opposed things.
Before we move on to the next topic, we're gonna give a shout out to our awesome patron Connor, who is part of our Ghostly tier. And if you guys want to be given a shout out every month on the first episode of the month, go ahead and go to patreon.com/scaryish-podcast and check it out.
And it is totally up to you whether or not we do your first name or your full name or a nickname. I'll call you The Edge, whatever you want. I mean, it's that old joke of like, how did that guy named Gordon convince everyone to call him Sting? This is how. If you sign up for one of those things, you can tell us what you want your shout out to be.
Okay.
And that's exactly what it'll be. So go ahead and check out those tiers and see what's up, because there's a lot of fun stuff that you can get. But yeah, definitely big shout out to Connor. We appreciate all the support that you've given the show.
He's supported us so much.
Quite a bit and for a very long time.
Yes.
So
our favorite Australian. Was that bad?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Okay, sorry.
We apologize for that Australian accent.
Moving on to my next topic here to bring down the lovely, cute party we had going on. I'm going to go over Ed Gein this week, and it's definitely going to be all true crime. Someone, like Adam said earlier, posted a picture in our Facebook group about a nipple belt. And
it is a belt that's made of nipples that have been removed from the human body and then sewn together, and it is so gross.
What's even better about this whole thing is that Adam had never heard of Ed Gein before. And I'm hoping that a lot of you guys haven't either. I know there's a whole lot of true crime fans out there.
I was like, he's the guy that sings I'm in love with the shape of you, right? That's him? That makes sense because of the nipple belt now. So
that's Ed Sheeran.
Same thing. Ed Sheeran, Ed Gein, Sheeran, whatever.
Ed Sheeran. All right. But I
can see him singing that, cutting off nipples. That's all I'm saying. He's a creepy looking dude.
It's perfect because that I've totally heard of Ed Gein before. So when I saw that, I was like, yeah, big whoop. And
wow,
Adam was
what
like,
a douche.
Well, no, because it doesn't weird me out, you know? But apparently it weirded you out a lot.
Yeah, I just saw a nipple belt, Robin.
But I mean, I was just really surprised that Adam had never heard of it, and I got really excited. And I mean, this guy is literally the inspiration for Psycho. And if you guys have never watched Psycho, go and watch it. It's like,
which one, Hitchcock or the remake with Vince Vaughn?
It is literally what the book was based off of.
Okay.
That led into all those.
Which one should they watch, though? Have you watched both of them?
I've only watched the one with Vince Vaughn.
So the remake.
And Bates Motel.
Okay. Oh, yeah, the show. I forgot they made a show out of it.
The show has the guy from The Good Doctor in it. It's pretty good. You guys should watch it.
I don't know. I was going to say he's not bad, but I actually haven't really seen too much of the show.
Oh, the show's pretty good. Anyway, so I guess, like, knowing that this guy exists just means I'm into weird stuff, but it's totally fine by me. I like true crime. Things happen. Going into who this person is. Edward Theodore Gein was born August 27th, 1906. If
anyone out there shares that birthday, not 1906 necessarily. 19? I don't know what's wrong with my tongue. Not 1906 necessarily, but every time we say a birthday, I know someone out there is like, oh, damn it.
In La Crosse County, Wisconsin. So it was over a century ago. It was quite a ways away ago.
It's from Wisconsin, too. That's messed up.
That's fucked up. He's also known as the Plainfield Butcher. And I bet you guys are all wondering why he's called that. Well, let me tell you. And after all this lovely book report sounding long-winded story of his life. So he was the youngest of two sons. His parents were George and Augusta Gein. His older brother was Henry George Gein. And his family dynamic was definitely tumultuous, to say the least. And Augusta hated George. But I mean...
Augusta's the mom, right?
Yeah.
That's messed up.
But... what woman's like, man, this dude's alcoholic, can't keep a job, love him to bits, but you know, whatevs.
Some ladies are just attracted to things that are not good for them. I was going to say some ladies are attracted to trash, but it goes even further than that. Some ladies are just attracted to things that are not good for them. It's like they like a challenge. They want to tie like an albatross around their neck to carry with them for the rest of their lives.
Only if the albatross is like the one from Rescuers Down Under, and he's totes adorbs.
What's really funny is I almost covered thunderbirds this week, and it's supposed to be like bigger than an albatross, which is the largest bird's wingspan, and blah, 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 blah. So I have all this other knowledge for all these other cryptids in my head right now.
All right. Anyway, so yes, George was definitely... an alcoholic, couldn't hold a job, and I don't know if you would call it a jack of all trades if he had a bunch of different types of jobs but couldn't keep them.
Means you're bad at everything, so you're not really a jack of all trades.
His jobs ranged from being a carpenter to being an insurance salesman, and he even owned a grocery store at one point.
How dare he?
I don't know. He's just all over the place.
I bet you he owned that grocery store and those shelves fell down because he built them himself.
Wow.
And then people sued him and he couldn't like recover money because he was a really bad insurance agent too.
That's so messed up.
Hashtag you suck, George.
Anyway, eventually the family moved to an isolated piece of 155-acre farm in Plainfield, Wisconsin. And this farm would end up being their like primary home for the rest of this story. And you can kind of see where I'm going from here because that town is literally the namesake for Ed's pretty horrendous nickname.
The Plainfield Butcher.
Right. And I mean, I don't know if horrendous is the right word either way. It's like...
It's not
pretty appropriate.
I was gonna say it's not very creative, but it's pretty appropriate. Yeah.
Well, you'll find out why it's appropriate. But
I've seen the nipple belt, bro.
So their life of isolation was made even more so when Augusta refused to let any of the outsiders, people that weren't in their family, into their lives. And her reasoning was just to make sure that no one negatively influenced her kids.
Yeah, that worked out.
She took Helicopter Mom to a completely new level.
Yeah.
Like, she was off the charts. They lived a ridiculously religious life. The kids would go to school, come back to the farm, do chores. Everything worldly was immoral and evil. Augusta taught her kids that all women, aside from herself, were prostitutes.
Wow.
And
I was thinking, when you said that, I was like, she's not going to say whore, is she?
They're the devil.
Yeah, that's what I'm picturing is the mom from, I was going to say Bobby's World.
You mean Waterboy?
Yeah. Bobby Boucher's his name. I'm not that far off, okay?
Something's wrong with
you.
Your
Don't
medulla
realize
oblongata.
I hate you so much, man. Waterboy is actually a direct sequel to the TV show Bobby's World. So
Shut up.
No, are you kidding me? Have you ever seen Bobby's World?
No, I don't even know what that is.
It's a cartoon from the 90s.
Oh, see, that's why I don't know what it is.
He grows up and he becomes a Cajun down on the bayou.
Oh.
Let's just go ahead and keep moving.
All right. Anyway, she was like, they're temptation laid out by the devil. They're evil. Don't have anything to do with them. And she read from the Bible to them every single afternoon. Ed had no friends. His mother made sure of that and would punish him anytime he ever made any attempt to make any. So he was just screwed from the get-go. His mom was just not going to let them do absolutely anything. Kind of like me, but I didn't end up killing people. Okay.
Yet.
It's maybe later.
You're still young. There's still time.
It's not at all surprising, right? Because he didn't even start killing someone till he was like 30 something.
There you go. You're not even in your 30s yet.
It's not at all surprising that this type of upbringing had a huge impact on Ed's growth. He was shy. He was described as strange by his classmates and teachers, like he had weird, strange mannerisms. They would recall him laughing randomly as if he were talking to himself.
Wow. He used to bow to the class squirtle. Class turtle.
Ed's stunted social growth didn't impact his actual learning, though. He was pretty good at reading. He liked to read.
Right on.
Ed's father died when Ed was 34, and he died because of heart failure as a result of his alcoholism.
Wow. That's sad.
The brothers had to pick up random jobs to make ends meet because their dad wasn't around to pick up random jobs. So, despite their strange upbringing, it seemed like Henry and Ed were considered pretty reliable and honest by the residents of Plainfield. Like, Ed was even hired to babysit for some of the neighbors, which is weird to me. He enjoyed babysitting, supposedly because he related more to children than adults.
Oh God.
Hello, red flag. Just saying.
I'm just like, I don't know enough about this guy to start bracing myself for the horrible things to come.
But they were pretty good handymen. Like, they got hired for lots of jobs to work on different things.
That's good, because you're saying that their dad, because he was an alcoholic, or maybe because he was just not good at things, couldn't hold down a job.
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear that they were able to.
Right.
Can't this just end there?
Henry dated a divorced single mother of two, and he was totally ready to move out of their farm home away from the confines of their mother's hold. And he often talked ill of Augusta in front of Ed because he worried about how attached Ed was to their mother. And you can imagine this smack talk about his mama didn't sit well with Ed. Like, it's not gonna...
This is scary.
Yeah.
I'm worried. His name is Henry?
Yep.
I'm worried for Henry. He shouldn't say things like that.
One day, on May 16th, 1944, 4 years after the death of their father, Henry and Ed were burning marsh vegetation on their farm, and the fire got out of control, alerting the local fire department. And after the fire was extinguished and everyone had left, Ed reported Henry missing. So, a search party was formed to search for Henry, but Gein was able to lead them directly to the body.
I just found it, guys. Don't look at my footsteps that lead directly here.
Oh my gosh, I can't. It's like, if you're going to murder someone, why are you that stupid?
Just a quick break-in. I still can't believe Lizzie Borden was acquitted. Just saying. So let's see what happens with Ed Gein here.
Okay, so Henry was found dead with his body face down on the ground. He was not at all burned.
Was he wearing a red jumpsuit apparatus?
I hate you.
They have a song called Face Down. It started playing in my head when she said that.
Face down the dirt.
Did he feel like a man when he pushed him around?
Do you feel better now? I don't know.
As he falls to the ground.
Yeah, just go listen to the song. It's from like my high school years.
It's old.
It's old. Not that I'm that old, but I mean, go listen to it if you want. Anyway, Henry was not at all burned. His death was ruled as asphyxiation because there were no other injuries that were really found, which I think is suspicious.
If it's a big fire, I mean, I know where this is going. Just saying, if it's a big fire, smoke inhalation is exactly where I would go immediately if I was like, well, he's never had a history of hurting anyone before.
Right. So in a biography about Gein by Harold Schechter, it's reported that there were actually bruises on Henry's head. And if that's true, they must have just brushed it off or not been able to do anything about it because the police dismissed the idea of any foul play and it was accepted as an accident and everyone kind of just moved on.
Maybe they thought like he asphyxiated, he passed out, he fell forward, he hit his head on something like a rock.
But what if there were no rocks? They were in the middle of a field.
I mean, there's rocks in fields, Robin. If it's not tilled, there's still going to be rocks in there. And if they're burning stuff, then you're saying they're burning like marsh, whatever, like refuse. So it's not like the cleanest area. Just saying. So
go till yourself.
I hate you so much.
That's pretty good. I'm just saying.
You think "go till yourself" was really good?
Yes.
You're gonna make a button out of it.
Oh my god, I might. I just bought pieces for magnets, so I might make magnets. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, brushed it off as an accident. Whatever. Some did suspect Ed of killing his brother, like Cain and Abel type thing. But there was
that Mark of Cain.
At the mark, we've been watching Supernatural, and it's all about the Mark of Cain right now.
We're in season 10, and man, this show, it just keeps going, man.
Just green light for season 15.
I can't believe that. I can't believe it's going to get even further away from me.
Anyway, so there was no investigation, no autopsy. Apparently, sometime between 1946 and 1956, Ed ended up selling 80 acres of the land that Henry owned, which I think is just cold-blooded. Like, I mean, if that doesn't scream, I killed my brother, I don't know what does. I honestly think that Ed killed his brother because how much he was talking smack about their mom, if he was that brainwashed that hearing someone talk about his mom like that just triggered him. You know what I mean?
Maybe the fact that the fire department got called, the fire got out of control. It was like an argument would ensue. Like if anyone out there has a sibling and something you're trying to do together goes haywire, like anger is going to flow and you're going to be like, this is your fault. Like even for like benign things that happens. Yeah. And I can imagine that kind of like triggering it as well or leading to
I know I've shoved my sister too hard at times. I mean, when I was way younger, like
older or younger? Which one?
Middle school. Like
no, which sister?
Oh, younger sister. I've never hit my older sister.
Apologize. This is your forum.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that sounded sincere.
No. It's just like I apologize for being violent as a child. I've never hit my older sister. I bet she could fucking just
should fuck you up.
Yeah. Like
the old Robin apology though. I'm sorry you made me mad enough to shove you so hard.
Shut up. Oh my gosh, the dog is snoring so loud.
It's probably gonna come through on the audio.
Okay. But yeah, maybe he killed his brother like just to have that sense of control that he couldn't get in his daily life. Like just like being able to take someone's life into your hands, just squeeze the life out of him. I don't know.
You sound like you're getting turned on for a second there.
Shut up.
That got really creepy.
So the death of his father and his only brother left Ed and his mother alone. And Ed never dated or brought any women home. When his mother suffered a stroke after Henry's death, Gein just dedicated all his time to taking care of her. And eventually she did suffer another stroke that kind of had her health deteriorate and led to her death on December 29th, 1945, leaving Ed completely alone.
That's sad.
And it's sad because he wasn't allowed to have any friends, so what is he going to do?
He doesn't know how to socialize whatsoever. As a grown man, he's like incapable of making friends, and the older you get, the harder it is to make friends.
It really is, because then you're just a creeper. Remember that stuff back in 2000?
It's like that thing with Steve Buscemi wearing like the thing that says like college on it, and he's like, hello, youths.
I've been seeing memes where it's like remember when Hot Topic used to look like this, and it's like actually like
the dingy, grungy Hot Topic.
Yes, and it had like the cobweb doors and stuff like that, and
it was all just like mesh shirts that
Yeah.
showed your nipples and like dog collar necklaces,
Your nipple
and
belts.
band T-shirts, and I don't think there were Pop toys yet. There was
No,
a
no,
Pop
no.
toy
Pops
for
didn't
literally every single thing.
yeah, Pop toys never existed until very, very recent time. So
Very, very, or just very.
no, I think it's very, very recent. I mean, 6 years.
No, CJ had a collection of Pop toys when I met him, and that was like 5 years ago.
That's why I just said 6 years.
So you think he developed a Pop toy collection?
6 or 7 years. I'm gonna say 6 or 7 years.
When I met CJ, he had a Pop toy collection and he had a bunch of anus human souls. Okay.
He's a Kappa. Okay. Anyway, so
I hope he listens to this episode. And he's like, I hate him so much.
So Ed was completely alone at this point. He decided, I'm going to board up all the doors to the rooms my mom used to use. So he kept all those rooms, boarded them up. They were absolutely pristine, didn't touch them, left them. So the remaining rooms kind of just got trashed. And looking at photos of what he lived in, it's really not as bad as some episodes of Hoarders that I've seen, but it's pretty messy. I just feel like with no one to tell him what to do anymore, you could say he kind of got lax in the cleaning department, so stuff started piling up.
He lost his way a little bit.
Yeah.
He wasn't self-motivated. He wasn't all those things I write on the resumes that I'm tossing out there to jobs.
Aww. Ed lived in a small room next to the kitchen, spending his time reading death cult magazines and adventure stories, especially those involving cannibals or Nazi atrocities.
So, whoa, death cult or adventure stories?
Yeah.
So
solid.
he just decided to combine those two, and
Sounds
that
like
would be his
solid
life.
reading.
Wow.
Yeah. I think it's odd, but at the same time, I'm thinking like, what about all the messed up stuff that I read about each week just for this podcast?
What if like this obsession with true crime that so many people seem to have right now is a fad and it fades, and then later on, like 30 or 40 years, everyone looks back like, what was wrong with you people? And then you have to defend yourself.
I think some of this stuff is like when people were blaming, what is that, freaking Marilyn Manson and stuff, like people listening to their music and that's why they kill people.
And then you find out they weren't a fan of the band anyways, but
Right.
it doesn't even matter because no one brings that up.
Yeah. So, whatever. Maybe Ed Gein was ahead of his time.
You think he was listening to Marilyn Manson back then? Damn you, Marilyn Manson! You've done it again!
No, I meant with the reading, you idiot. So anyway, true crime is so in right now. So,
It is.
It's a thing. Ed continued to work as a handyman and even received a government subsidy for the farm, which is kind of cool.
That happens a lot.
So then begins his string of bad deeds. On November 16th...
Let me unbutton my pants really fast.
Gross. On November 16th, 1957, it was reported that a Plainfield hardware store owner, Bernice Warden, had disappeared. And a resident reported a hardware truck had left the store around 9:30 a.m., but that the store had actually been closed all day.
So his mom died in 1945.
Yeah.
And the beginning of these, like I was going to say atrocities. Okay, I'm just going to go with atrocities. It's a bad word.
It's a bad word.
It's a word that represents bad things.
Yeah.
But that was 12 years later. Almost 12 years later. So he spent 12 years in basic solitude just reading adventure stories.
You imagine like he loved his mom. That was like his best friend, the person he went to for everything. And then she died, and then he's by himself, and then his mental state's just going to keep deteriorating.
I cannot imagine being by myself for 12 years. I can't imagine being by myself for 12 minutes before the demons start to creep in. So it's a very long time for a very off person,
You get a dog.
What's that?
You get a dog.
Yeah, and then it tells you to kill people like the son of Sam.
No, that's when you get a goat. Maybe that's why he did it. He was on a farm. Maybe he had a goat. The goat told him to do
I
it.
think it was a black goat. I forget the name of it from The Witch.
I don't know.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah,
it's really boring, and then it's like
scary at the end.
It's really boring, and then the end you're like, oh, that paid off.
Yeah.
Like, good job, The Witch.
Anyway, so store had been closed all day. Around 5 p.m., Bernice Warden's son, the frigging deputy sheriff, Frank Warden, shows up, entered the store to find the cash register open and blood on the floor. And so Frank told investigators that Ed had been in the night before and said that he would return the next morning to buy some antifreeze. Why he didn't buy it that night, who knows?
Shout out to the Midwesterners who just went through that polar vortex. It
Yeah.
froze antifreeze.
I can't
For
believe
those of you who
that.
didn't see that
And then
antifreeze that was outside in the negative 50-degree wind chill, it froze.
And then Northwest, that's just this morning, had a bunch of snow. I think it's so cool. And we're over here like, man, it's hot.
I was honestly on my phone outside in flip-flops grilling hamburgers like, damn, that looks cold. Hashtag Vegas.
So there was
That's a lot of hashtags. I'm just saying things.
Yeah, it's because it's midnight.
Hashtag midnight.
Oh my gosh. The hashtag sale slip. The sale slip for antifreeze was the last one written by Bernice before she disappeared. So Ed was arrested that same day, and then his farm was searched by the Washara County Sheriff's Department. And so now I'm going to say, if you guys get triggered, this is your trigger warning. Go forward a bunch, because I'm just going to go into a bunch of details of things, and they're pretty gross. And this dog is snoring really loud. And just press the skip button quite a few times. And,
They're going to skip, and it's just going to be like, whether it's
Thanks
15
for joining
seconds
us.
or 30-second jumps, it'll be like skip, and you'll be like nipples, skip.
So, if you don't want to hear the gory details, like skip ahead a few times. So now I'm going to start. Surprise, they found Bernice's decapitated body in a shed on his property. She was hung upside down by her legs with a crossbar between her ankles, at her ankles, and ropes at her wrists. And if there are any hunters out there, think what you'd do to prep a deer, then gut it.
Oh my God.
That was what happened to Bernice Worden.
Did she get gutted?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So, like a deer, she was shot first and mutilated afterwards.
How humane.
Yeah, not like that's any better, right? It's like super fucked up what this dude did. But at least it wasn't while she was alive. It could have been worse. He could have tortured her to death.
I'm sure he was so relieved to find out his mom was shot first.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, this is why I'm like trigger warning, because it's horrible. While searching his home, authorities found whole human bones, which I would assume means skeletons.
Parts, I think probably parts of skeletons, not complete skeletons, sounds like.
Yeah. Wastebasket. Jesus, this dog snoring is so loud. A wastebasket made of human skin. And we can't forget
But the skin's the best part.
We can't forget the nipple belt.
Ugh.
Blah, it's so gross.
So clearly you said this happened on 1957.
Yeah.
This clearly wasn't the first.
No.
This was the one where they caught him.
Yes.
Okay. So, got it.
Human skin covering a number of chair seats. Skulls on his bedposts. Bowls made of human skulls. A pair of lips was used on a window shade's drawstring. A lampshade made from a human face.
Oh my God.
A freaking corset made from the skin of a female torso from shoulders to waist. Leggings and masks made of skin. Bernice Worden's entire head was found in a burlap sack, and her heart was in front of his stove. His stove. And let me tell you, what that leads me to think is that he was about to freaking eat it.
But at least he was going to cook it first? I don't know. There's
So
really no
gross.
at least
Ugh.
here.
Oh my gosh. When I read that, I was like, oh, no thanks.
That moment from game night where they start gagging like, ugh.
No, don't do that. You know I'm going
You're going to make me do that?
9 vulvae were... Vulvae?
9
Vulva?
what? Vulva?
Lady parts were found in a shoebox. 4 noses. A 16-year-old whose parents were friends with the Geins claimed that Ed kept shrunken heads. And he told them that they were just relics from the Philippines that Ed's cousin had sent him from World War II. And these were later found to be facial skins from corpses and used as masks.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this guy was fucked up.
You know, I just want to say I missed a really good joke opportunity when you were listing all that stuff off. When you finished, I should have been like, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Yeah, there was nothing that nice.
Everyone pretend like I edited that back and it was hilarious. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. Everyone laughs. Cool. Keep going.
So there was just so much freaking gross stuff found in his home. Everything was photographed and then destroyed. So no one kept it. It's not in a museum, hopefully. Luckily, these things weren't a result of murder after murder, which is good. I mean, as good as it can be. It's just an accumulation of about 40 trips to 3 local graveyards to exhume freshly buried bodies.
Oh, thank God.
He claimed that these nightly trips were occurring while he was in a quote-unquote daze-like state, stating some trips had him wake up while in the act. So he was like, oh, what am I doing? Would fix the grave, return home empty-handed. He went out of his way to dig up graves of women who resembled his mother.
Shocker.
Which is
some
like
Christian Grey shit.
This
is what Christian Grey would be if he was poor, ladies.
Oh, my Lord. Okay.
Now you know.
So, he took their bodies home, tanned their skin to make his goodies. He admitted to robbing 9 graves, even leading investigators to their locations. And the exhumation of said graves actually showed proof that everything Gein was telling investigators was true. So what parts were in this, what he took out and left instead, all that stuff, all missing body parts, things like that. Everything was what he said. And the face of a woman named Mary Hogan was found in a paper bag and her skull in a box in Gein's home. He admitted to shooting Mary Hogan, a woman who'd been missing since 1954, and he later denied having any memory of any details of her death, which I think is so stupid.
Or terrifying if it's true, because there's a person out there who just blacks out and wakes up and it's like, oh, I have a corpse in my house that's it doesn't have a head. And they didn't even go and ask anyone hey, I need help. Please help me.
Isn't there a TV show about... Okay, no. There is a TV show called Beauty and the Beast. And he blacks out.
Same thing, yeah.
No,
same exact
it's not the same thing. But he does black out and wakes up and crazy shit has happened. And he's like, did I do that?
Like Steve Urkel.
Yeah. He later denied having any knowledge or any memory. Gein was a suspect for several other unsolved cases in Wisconsin, including the disappearance of a girl named Evelyn Hartley. Gein's whole goal of doing this grave robbing was to make a quote-unquote woman suit so that he could become his mother, to literally crawl into her skin. Ugh, so gross.
That's really gross, but you know what? If you wanted to crawl into your mother's skin, why didn't he just take her skin and not go and get a bunch of parts from other people?
I'm just thinking that it's kind of like Psycho, where he just keeps his mom's body in the house. And
yeah, I mean, obviously, but still, I'm just saying, if you really wanted that, you would have just used your mom instead of using all these other people. But he probably couldn't do this to his mom because he's probably disgusted by the act he would then go and perform on someone else's family member.
Yeah. The thought of it makes my skin crawl.
I hate you so much.
Gein claimed he never had intercourse with any of the bodies, though, because they, quote-unquote, smelled too bad.
Holy shit. If you have to tell people, I didn't have intercourse with these corpses, you very clearly did.
I don't know. Maybe he really didn't, though, because he was being really honest about all the other stuff he did. You know? I think he was
I'm not buying it.
I think he had kind of the mind of a child and is way more honest than most killers and stuff.
It's just not something you would volunteer if it wasn't something that you did. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think he didn't do it. I think he killed people.
He's definitely earned our trust at this point.
But I don't think he actually performed necrophilia on things. That's just me. 1957, Gein was diagnosed with schizophrenia, found mentally incompetent, unfit for trial. He was sent to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane, now called Dodge Correctional Institution. He was later transferred to the Mendota State Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. In 1968, doctors determined him capable to stand. Bernice's murder was explained by Gein as simply an accident. He was trying to load a .22 rifle when it fired. He hadn't intentionally meant to aim at her, and he didn't remember anything else that morning, which to me sounds like bullshit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I accidentally hung her by her ankles and cut her head off.
Yeah. Gein's trial was held without a jury, and he was found not guilty by reason of insanity.
Wow.
And spent the rest of his life in a mental hospital, dying of cancer and respiratory failure on July 26, 1984. So he lived for 1906 to 1984. What is that, 78 years?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Good
math.
Yeah. Well, thanks. Gein's home was going to be auctioned off, but on March 27th, 1958, it was destroyed by a fire.
I had a feeling it was going to be burned.
It was never officially determined whether or not it was arson.
Oh, yeah. They burned that place to the ground.
His car was auctioned off for $760 to Bunny Gibbons, a carnival sideshow operator who charged 25 cents a ticket to see it.
25 cents?
Yeah.
I bet you he made his money back, too.
Maybe. But
people are I mean, we're talking about it now. People have been obsessed with this stuff for so long.
People are definitely obsessed with the macabre. I get it. And it was the car that he used to tote around all his dead bodies. So after finding all the things that they did, I'm not surprised that his story has been adapted into a number of different movies and shows. Different
dog
movies
waking
and
up
shows.
in the background, if you guys are wondering.
Psycho's probably the big one. There's The House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects. If you guys haven't watched Bates Motel yet, you guys really should. I think it's really good. I wish I remembered that actor's name.
From Bates Motel? I don't remember his name.
Yeah,
either.
I don't remember his name.
The kid from Chocolat.
Oh, is he from Chocolat?
I'm pretty sure he's the little kid. I'm pretty sure that's him. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure anymore. I'm pretty tired right now. So.
Oh, okay. I don't know. All I know is he's amazing in The Good Doctor. He's really good in Bates Motel. You guys should check it out. Support him.
Do you think he ever at any point told all these people, since he was so worried about removing their skin, that it puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose
No,
again?
because they can't talk back. They're dead.
Oh, that makes sense. But he took that one chick. He said that he shot that one chick. So...
But no one knows the details because he said he couldn't remember the details.
I can't remember anything that happened. Also, I didn't have sex with them, I swear.
It's just, this guy is nutso. There's loosely based characters like Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay.
There's just lots. There's lots of things that have been inspired by this guy. And he may have been called the Butcher of Plainfield, but it wasn't because he was a serial killer. A lot of websites do say, like, he was one of the most prolific serial killers. I don't think or consider him a serial killer. I think he is...
a grave robber.
A grave robber. He's schizophrenic. He's just not all right in the head.
He was a grave robber who also happened to commit murder.
Right.
Okay.
He's the Butcher of Plainfield because he literally butchered bodies. And if you don't know, now you know. You're not going to say I hate you? Okay. I love that song. All right. And that's the story of Ed Gein.
Wow. That was intense and gross. So anyone who's fast forwarding and they get to this part, all the gross stuff is over now. And good news, he died. So, right? He did die.
Yeah,
you said he died.
I mean, he died of cancer. Yeah.
Okay, good. See, and there's another thing, too. A lot of people have to go through a lot of stuff when they contract cancer or they know someone that they love who contracts cancer. God gives cancer to bad people too. So
wow.
Just saying, it's a good thing that that happens, because sometimes I think sometimes people are just like, man, like only bad things happen to good people. No, this guy was a monster and he got cancer. So
you know what would have been great though?
What?
If he was sentenced to jail for what he did.
I mean, they don't put crazy people in with Gen Pop or like even maximum security. They put them in a mental institution, and they stay there for like the rest of their life. Huh.
That's what happened.
Yeah. It's messed up. So, anyways, Squirtle Turtles.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yeah. Sorry to ruin the lovely, cute turtle parade.
No, I mean the last two episodes I've talked about The Exorcist, where it's like, go ahead and sleep with your light on now, folks. So, at least your demon died in the end. But that was really good. Good research, Robin.
Thanks.
Yeah. Solid stuff right there. So I think that's just about all the normal stuff that we do, right? We don't have anything extra at the end of the episodes or anything like that. So fun stuff. Thank you guys for tuning into episode 61. We really appreciate it. And do us a favor. If you enjoy our show, share it with someone else, because we get so many emails saying like, I started listening because a friend told me to listen. And we really do appreciate that. It is the easiest way to support us, and it is the best way to support us. For those of you who want to go ahead and reach out to us and email us your stories, and hopefully they're not anything like Robin described, but if you want to email us your paranormal stories or even true crime stories if you have them, we always take all that stuff. You can email storytime@scarish.com. You can also message us on facebook.com/scarishpodcast, tweet at us @scarishpod, Instagram us @scarishpodcast. Our website is scarish.com, and you can message us there by clicking on Contact Us. You can join us on Discord by scrolling down and clicking the Discord link and going there. And we are going to have like 200 members soon. It's really fun. There's a lot of talking that goes on in there. There's a bunch of different channels. It's always a good time. So we really appreciate everyone that supports us.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
I hate you. You're just quoting nothing but Panic at the Disco songs now. You can also support us by heading on over to iTunes and leaving us a rating or a review. If you have an
5
iTunes
stars,
account
please.
and you haven't done it yet, just head over there, sign in, find our podcast, and rate us. It really, really does help us out. And we really want to get you guys used to that because we're going to be having a new podcast come out in the next week or two. We have to get it approved through iTunes and get it up on all the different sites before it's like officially going to get a date. But that's going to be called You've Never Seen That. And it's going to be our movie podcast where I share a movie with Robin that she's never seen or vice versa. And then we talk about it afterwards and comment on the things we liked and disliked, which should be very fun because I plan on insulting everything she shows me, which will make her very upset. And it's going to be a good time. So when that comes out,
me with a good time.
I hate you. When that comes out, it'll be very important that we have your guys' support, and you guys can go over there and rate and review that as soon as it launches. If you like it, I'm not saying you guys have to go and say, oh my God, this is so good, if you don't even listen to it. I really hate it when people like use their supporters, like support everything I do. But if you guys really do like it, please help us out on iTunes when that comes out. And then for this podcast, if you want to help us out financially, you can always go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast, sign up for a monthly donation. Robin, how do they do the one-time donations?
So if you want to do one-time donations, it's ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast, and all those donations help us upgrade our studio setup, which would be great.
And then you can also join us live Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is the West Coast time. If you want to watch us record the Storytime episodes live, which is always really fun. We interact with the audience after every email we read to see what you guys thought of it and to kind of just talk to you guys about what's going on in your lives. We have a connection to a lot of the people that show up very continuously. And one last thing I want to say about that, if you have Amazon Prime and you watch us on twitch.tv/scarishpodcast, which is totally free, Amazon owns Twitch and they give you one free subscription to any channel once a month. That subscription is worthless unless you use it, but if you use it, whoever you subscribe to will receive $5 every month. So you basically have $5 free to give, and if you don't give it away, Amazon doesn't have to pay anyone. But if you give it away, it becomes real money that you can give to someone, and why not let that be us? We would really appreciate it, and you can just hang out and watch us if you don't have Amazon Prime. It costs absolutely nothing to go onto Twitch. You can just go to our channel and watch us record Wednesdays at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you're not into Twitch, you can just watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/scarish. So that's all the different ways that you can hang out with us and explore us. And that sounded really weird. And watch our content.
Don't Ed Gein.
Don't explore us, please. Yeah, that's all good. So thank you so much for supporting us, though. We do appreciate everyone that listens and watches and donates and reviews. And you guys are amazing. We couldn't ask for a better community to have sprung up around this thing that we call Scarish. So I think that's just about it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take the sign out. Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Right on. So keep on creeping on, and we'll see you guys later this week.